Good morning, everybody. My name is Ibanito. Welcome, Warframe Basic. Sorry about that. So this morning we're going to be doing some quick tutorial on why they're useful, not useful, and also how to acquire them. Now, as you can see here, I have a Kavat. Call them. My space kitty is Ox. And he needs a dead nest. So we'll start with the pros of Kavats, Kubros, and Heelmouth Chargers first. So, when you look at a Kubro, you pick one up after you do Howl mission. I believe you get after you go to, or it's just, I think it's, take a look at the star chart. The star chart will tell me where the Howl, the quest is. I think this is where you get it. I have a cat leaning. Ironically, I have a cat who's Paris. Which is great. Those are good. Those are the third. Nope, you get the Taxon blueprint. Taxon. Salvage. So then the Howl, the Kubro must be. Oh, that gives you one. And Howl, the Kubro. Okay. So you get a Kubro by going to Earth, going to any of the missions that are actually on the planet. Marina, Prime, Everest, Lith. I mean, most of them are actually on the planet. Some of them are not power, like this. But any of the ones on the planet, you can find Kubro dens, have wild Kubros, attack grenade soldiers. Pretty easy to see. And once you see a Kubro den, you break the Kubro den down, you have a chance of getting an egg. And you bring a Kubro egg back in here. Your pet segment, which you should have. Bus usually gives you. And you put it in Kubro breeding. Once you have an egg, and you have to get a power core as you get to the marketplace. These are slots you'll always have when you have no pets. And then, of course, you'll have no active pets, so this will be a problem. To simply say, start breeding. After a little while, I think it's like a day or two, you get your Kubro, little Kubro puppy. Then you can have him grow up, which I think takes like 12 hours. And then you have yourself a full Kubro. Now, I have a Kubro. His name is Familiar. This is mine. Now, money you go, okay, so the benefits, oh, that texture. What are the benefits of a Kubro? Well, each Kubro has a few unique benefits through this mod capacity thing. Sorry. A little early still. This is the mod table. Mod bin. So in here, I went straight to the companion mod selection, and you'll see that there are certain mods that are rare, of course, like common. There's a very few common ones. So my Kubro was a Cheshire. It was a Shesa Kubro. So this is one of the things that she can do, retrieve. She sniffs out loot hidden in crates and dropped by enemies within 18 meters, and retrieves them for its master. Kind of a neat little thing to do, because this basically gives the Shesa. It gives my Kubro the ability to kind of vacuum, but not really vacuum. It was kind of the what do they call it? The compromise made between the developers for something that was somewhat like vacuum, but not really vacuum, or vacuum became, or more accurately, before vacuum became for all Sentinels. So then, otherwise, you have Beast, Hunter, Recovery, and you have specifically Kavat one. Then you also have some specific. Well, then I don't think actually the Kubro. Yeah, the Kubros have hasted deflection, which is Kubro, which gives them a shield recharge. But otherwise, they all have most everything. And then you have some ones once again for other ones. Now, like the Hasa Kubro has the ability to like do finishers and dig out objects. And there's another one for the Cheshire. It neutralizes enemies, causing them to drop the other stuff. And then the Sunika Kubro, which grapples and forces targets to the ground. I mean, so basically, the way that I view Kubros is that they have very niche uses, just like Kavats, and just like Helmut Chargers. They're a touch less niche than, I would say, Kavats, maybe, just a little bit. I really haven't gone too much in depth with Kubros myself. Personally, as I see it, Kubros, Kavats, and Helmut Chargers aren't... Their biggest benefits is they have very specific, cool things they can do. Again, the Kubros can savage targets. Where the Kavats, as mine is a Kavat. Oh, he's cute kitty. So Nox is a Smita Kavat. Now, a Smita Kavat, now if you look at the abouts, this is the annoying thing, you look at the abouts, they don't tell you really much anything about the Kavat. This is a sly feline. It's playful yet devious. Like, what does that mean? I have another Kavat who is Allison. And Allison is an Ardarza Kavat. Now, Ardarza Kavats have their own special skills. Much like all the different Kubros have their own special niche abilities, so do the Ardarza, Smita. There may not be. There only might be 2 Kavats. So Ardarza Kavats give, with this particular mod, Cat's Eye, gives 60% increased critical chance for allies for 10 seconds. Which is stupid! It's not permanent 60% increased critical chance, but it's still, you know, at once every 10 seconds. Basically, you are down, and then 10 seconds again, you're back up. Where the Smita Kavat has Charm, which has a 28% chance to every 27 seconds to bestow its owner with good fortune. And that good fortune can be a pretty amazing thing, from double loot that you pick up on the ground, to energy restoration, to ammo restoration, to... God, there's so many different ways that the charm can be useful. So a lot of people run Smita Kavats in pretty much all of their farming missions. Especially if they're doing like a sit farm, where they just kind of sit in one spot and they run out and they grab items and they run back. Because Smita Kavats, that extra loot chance is super useful. Now, beyond that, they also have... let's see. Mischief. Mischief is another Smita Kavat skill, which becomes invisible, and creates a decoy, and then, you know, evades damage and attacks people from stealth, which is kind of cool. Our Dars have the ability to reflect damage and amplify it, which is pretty useful for high-end missions. But this is where, again, Kavats kind of fall short. Well, Kavats also have the ability to do things like Sharpened Claw, which reduces armor by 120%, which is like, why do you need that? To pacifying wild creatures with territorial aggression, or swiping, attacks additional enemies and increases attack range. These are all cool abilities, but one of the things they all lack, and I'll come back to it, is the ability to pick up items, which only one of the Kubros has, and it only picks up one item at a time. Another creature you can pick up is, of course, the Helmut Charger. So the Helmut Charger, kind of a weird-looking creature. It is the combination of a Kubro egg and the Helmut virus, which you pick up. If anyone who has ever played the game long enough, they might get especially if you're new, you might get these little pink cysts right here on the side of your neck, right about there. You can see on my Warframe. I don't have it, but that's where you'd see it. And once it grows this little like tendril out of it, you will actually be able to drain it into a Kubro egg during what they call it, breeding, and then you'll be able to have a Helmut Charger. So Helmut Chargers are kind of interesting. They are usually a little bit more durable than the Kubros and the Vats combined. And they have Trample, which rushes enemies, and they have Proboscis, which allows you to swip out and pulls enemies into them, which is kind of cool. But once again, it runs into this kind of niche circumstance. And the biggest problem with all living companions right now is this little thing. Right? If your companion dies in battle, you will lose loyalty. And you'll have to interact with them in order to bring that loyalty up. That doesn't sound like a big task, but it is kind of annoying. Especially when DNA integrity starts to fail. Every day, DNA integrity goes down a small amount. And over a period of time, if you just like don't pay attention to them, your pet could die or at least go into stasis. So a lot of people don't like Kubrows, Kavats, and Heal Chargers for the fact that you have to maintain them. And on top of that, they require a lot more, I guess you could say, they require a lot more upgrading than a Sentinel does. So as you can see here, you have 10 slots to play with. These two, of course, have like what they call precept slots they have reduced. But see, even this can use scavenge, which can open lockers for me, and this one has charm because this is my Nox. And I've made it up kind of nice, and it doesn't, I haven't formatted it even once. But this is not the strongest, and a pet can become. And it's one of the things that, I've always kind of slightly been sad that I've never really done too much with Kubrows or Kravats. Really, Kavats are much better at damage, where Kubrows are more better at tanking, and Heal Chargers are kind of the combination between damage dealers and tanky ones. And soon we'll be getting a whole new breed of companions, which will be the MOA, but the MOA will be machinery and probably will not require maintenance to some degree. So, I love my Nox. I love what he can do for me, but more often than not, I will run with one of my mini Sentinels. Ooh. Now, each Sentinel has its own set of abilities that makes it kind of fun. Just like with Kubrows, Kavats, and Heal Chargers, they can have their own, like, 1 or 2 different abilities, but also they have, let's take a look. They have a weapon that goes with them. The weapon can be independently modified to be powerful for status or powerful for crit, and you can choose multiple different ones. So it's just like, I don't have, I want something that's going to be able to do, a slightly better status chance, or I want something that's going to be doing maybe a little bit more crit. You can choose that. You can change that. They're fully moddable, and that's one of the things that makes them very, 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 very useful. Now, there is one thing, and I'll get to that in a minute, that they have as a problem. But otherwise, look at this. They have the 10 slots. Generally, they have more polarity slots when they start out with. Like, this is Helios Prime, obviously, so he has even more than the normal. But I have, see the robotic? These are all robotic and companion and sentinel. They all work together in the same thing. And I have Guardian, which boosts my shield to 100% when it runs out. I have Shield Charger. Funny. I have Guardian and Shield Charger, which increases my max shield by 60% and shield regeneration by 60% for seconds. Super useful. Animal Instinct, which gives me loot radar and enemy radar. But this right here is why Sentinels are most used. It is Vacuum. Picks up items with within 12 meters almost of the player, and you don't have to go run over and walk over them. It's one of the biggest disadvantages in the game currently is the fact that Sentinels have Vacuum. Most of their pets do not. If all of their pets could use some version of Vacuum, the game would be much easier. People wouldn't be choosing Sentinels all the damn time. But because they don't, Vacuum is only universal across the Sentinel line. You'll only see it on Sentinels. Unless, of course, they add it to the MOAs in the upcoming expansion. Then we'll see. And as you can see here, I have 180 armor and 700 health and 100 shield. It's a pretty powerful thing. It also can it also blows up when it dies and knocks enemies down, and it can regenerate itself once. And this is another thing that makes the particular Helios model the most useful for some people, is it scans objects and enemies within 50 meters over 2 seconds. This gives you a free codec scanner. If you want to pick up any kind of somatic chord tones, or frame fighter data, or just scanning information into your codecs, or even, in many cases, what I use it for, getting those Cephalon fragments. This will do it all for you. If you don't have a Cephalon fragment, you just walk past it, and it'll go, oh, you don't have that one yet, and it'll scan it for you. If you do have it, then it'll just ignore it. But every time you walk past a Sentinel fragment you don't own or don't have in your codex, it will just scan it for you. And then you'll have everything. Everything will be scanned for you. It's a very, very useful thing, especially since in most circumstances you can't be bothered to pull out your scanner and do it yourself because you're fighting enemies. Unless you're going stealthy mode and doing it intentionally, then that's a whole different ball game. But then it will still work better because if you are in stealth, it will stealth scan things for you and do better than you. So Helios is one of the most universally loved Sentinels because of that fact. And then, of course, you also have Carrier has no use. Carrier used to be the only Sentinel that could use the vacuum mod. It became the most universally loved one. And then they made vacuum usable on all Sentinels. And then people are like, why do I want Carrier if all it can do is, vacuum stuff that everyone else can do too? So the only thing that it has that's slightly different is it has Striker, which means it can attack the first enemy. Okay? Anything else? No? Then why do I bother? So most people also run it with ammo case, of course, because ammo case allows you to convert ammo to all of your different weapons without having to worry, and it is a carrier-specific mod. This is the only other thing that makes Carrier kind of sort of useful right now, is the fact that it has the ability to convert ammo into certain things. And it also increases your ammo capacity. So, you're using this one weapon that has like 5 ammo capacity, you might get an extra ammo. It also has a pretty good health, so the enhanced vitality gets a really nice boost to it. Beyond that, Shade is also a liked one. Shade has a really cool ability. So Shade has the ability to Ghost, which cloaks owner when enemies are within 10 meters, and that's permanent. So as long as there's enemies within 10 meters of you, you're still in stealth. Which is kind of useful. But 10 meters is not a huge range, so, there's also that problem. Otherwise, he has Revenge, which is basically will not attack an enemy unless the enemy has attacked the master. So it kind of makes it a passive-aggressive Shade. And I think Shade had a new one that came out with a recent addition to the main line, but I can't tell you exactly what that was. Taxon has a really cool set of abilities as well, which its precepts are for molecular conversion is its ability, which blasts enemies and converts its damage into shields, which is really cool. It basically gives you a shield restore, which is really helpful. And then Worm Prime has an area disruption, crowd dispersion, which is really useful. It creates a radial knockdown when enemies are nearby, and it deals damage. And it's probably one of the least useful skills, but it's also semi-useful for new players. So, as you can see, each Sentinel has at least one ability, sometimes 2, that make it useful to the game, make him fun and a reason to have around. And then you get into your companions like your cats. I love them. They have some kind of unique mechanics to them. But without vacuum, or something that kind of mimics that, they are only useful they're only useful for farming or doing specific things. Like I know the Ardarza Kavats are used for the Eidolons in the plains of Eidolons in the plains of Eidolon, and that's great. But really, they're not all that they're made up to be. Otherwise, they're just cool companions. Now, if you want to know how to mod a companion, modding a companion is pretty basic. So you just kind of throw on some health and some armor ones. With the Kavats and Kubros, you want to make sure that they have their abilities, their precepts in your collection, because otherwise they might not be as strong. I did Swipe and Sniper and Claws, which is kind of a neat one. Hunter Synergy for the increased critical chance, which doesn't do much. Really not for this particular one, because actually not the weapons I'm. But really, you can do Bleed Out to get health regeneration per second instead. Something I would probably do instead. Maybe some Link Armor, so it has like an extra little bit of armor. And then there you go. Maybe you'll do Link Shields instead. But each one of these, you can mod them out fully, and each pet is going to kind of look the same. Sentinels will kind of do the same thing. Each Sentinel will kind of look generally the same with a few changes to their precepts. The Sentinel weapons, however, have their one major flaw. And that major flaw is I can't use the mods that are currently being used by any part of my Warframe's weapon. So if I'm using split chamber on my rifle, I can't use it on the laser rifle. Unless I have an extra split chamber, then I can do that. If I want to use Stormbringer, I can't use it unless it's on a different, unless I have an extra Stormbringer. So you have to basically double up on all the mods you want to either level up or purchase. So it's one of the major drawbacks of using Sentinels and their weapons. But more often than not, most people don't use the Sentinel weapons. They use their abilities and not really their weapons. So with pets, in the end, they give you a source of damage and some abilities, but most of their abilities are forms of damage. And with Sentinels, you just get you get vacuum. That's pretty much how it boils down. In summary, you get vacuum with Sentinels, and you get unique abilities with pets. So you kind of have to play which one you want to do. So everybody, I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. If you have, like, comment, subscribe. If you haven't, let me know in the comment section of what I could do better. I'm always willing to improve. And thank you everybody so much for watching.